A very warm greeting to everyone. Myself, Bavithra, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Food and Nutrition, Bishop Heber College, Tiruchi. In this module, I am going to explain about an important food standard, Codex Alimentarius. Let's get into the slides. So first, we're going to see about Codex Alimentarius. So Codex Alimentarius is an international food standard which was created by a World Health Organization and Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. Now, we're going to see about a short introduction of Codex Alimentarius. The Codex Alimentarius is a Latin term which means a food law or food code. So it's a combined set of standards, codes of practices and other model regulation which is available for countries to use and apply to food in international trade. So the standards cover all basic food types, raw, semi-processed and processed that are intended for distribution to the customers. Let's move to objectives of Codex Alimentarius. The first and foremost objective of Codex Alimentarius is protecting the health of the consumer and ensure fair practice in the food trade, and to promoting a coordination of all the food standard work which was undertaken by IGOs and NGOs. So next objective is to determine the priorities and initiating and guiding the preparation of draft standard through and with the aid of appropriate organizations, and then finalizing the standards elaborated after their acceptance by government and publishing the standards in a Codex Alimentarius either as a regional or international standards. So these are the five foremost objectives of Codex Alimentarius. So in this slide, we're going to see about establishment of Codex. So with the founding of the FAO in 1945 and WHO in 1948, they both took the responsibility of covering food and health related issues. So in the light of international food standards. So which means with the help of the international food standards, FAO and WHO took the responsibility of covering the food and health related issues in the community. So at the World Health Assembly held in 1953, it was confirmed that the broad usage of chemicals in food production and processing imposed itself as a new public health problem that required a special attention. So on its 11th session held in 1961, the conference of FAO decided to establish the Codex Alimentarius Commission. So continuation of Codex Alimentarius establishment. So in 1962, the Joint Conference of FAO WHO for Food Standards requested from the Codex Alimentary Commission to implement their joint FAO and WHO program for food standard, and at the same time to create the Codex Alimentarius. The World Health Assembly formally accepted the joint program of FAO and WHO for food standards, completely accepting the responsibility with the relation with all food health aspects on its 16th session held in May 1963, and accepted the statute of Codex Alimentary Commission. So the first session of Codex Alimentary Commission was held in Rome, Italy from 25th June to 3rd July 1963. Current status of Codex Alimentary Commission. So India is a member of Codex Alimentary Commission since 1964. Currently there are 186 Codex members. Of this, 185 member countries and 1 member organization, and 220 Codex observers, which includes United Nations bodies, IGOs and NGOs. Let's move on to a general principle of Codex Alimentarius. So the Codex Alimentarius comprises of 4 main principles which are listed below. So the first one is purpose of Codex Alimentarius. Second one is scope of Codex Alimentarius. Third one is nature of Codex standards. Fourth one is a revision of Codex standards. So let's get to know about a brief note of principles. So first principle is purpose of Codex Alimentarius. So the Codex Alimentary is a collection of internationally adapted food standards and related texts presented in a uniform manner. The aim at protecting consumer health and ensuring a fair health practice in the food trades. So the publication of the Codex Alimentary is intended to guide and promote the elaboration and establishment of definitions and requirements for foods to assist in their harmonization and in doing to facilitate the international standard. So second one is a scope of Codex Alimentarius. So scope includes a standard for all the principal foods, whether processed, semi-processed or raw, for the distribution to the consumer material for further processing into the foods should be included to the extent necessary to achieve the purposes. So it includes the provision in respect of the food hygiene, food additives, residues of pesticides and veterinary drugs, contaminants, labeling, method of analysis and sampling, import and export inspection and certification, etc. So next is nature of Codex standard. So Codex standard and related texts are not a substitute or an alternative for the national legislation. Every country's laws and administrative procedure contains a provision with which is essential to compile. A Codex standard and related text contain requirements for food aimed at ensuring for the consumer a safe, wholesome food product free from adulteration, correctly labeled and presented. Last principle is a revision of Codex standard. The Codex Alimentary Commission and its subsidiary bodies are committed to a revision as necessary of Codex standard and related text to ensure that they are consistent with and reflect current scientific knowledge and other relevant information. When required, a standard or the related text shall be revised or removed in accordance with the procedure for the elaboration of Codex standard and related text. So each member of this Codex Alimentary Commission is responsible for identifying and presenting to the appropriate committee any new scientific and other relevant information which may warrant the revision of any existing Codex standard related text. So now we're going to see about Codex Alimentarius Commissions. So the CAC is the body responsible for all the matters regarding the implementation of joint FAO or WHO food standard programs. So the membership of the commission is open to all member nation and associate members of FAO and who are interested in international food standards. The commission meets in a regular session once a year, alternating between Geneva and Rome. So the program of the work of commission is funded through the regular budget of WHO or FAO with all the work subject to approval of two governing of the parent organization. So the commission works in the 6 United Nations official language. So here in this picture, we're going to see about the Codex Alimentary Commissions and what are the committees they have been running up. So first, the two major committees is Executive Committee and FAO or WHO Regional Coordinating Committees. So the Executive Committee comprises of three committees: Horizontal or General Committee, Vertical or Commodity Committee, Ad hoc Intergovernmental Task Forces. So this general committee comprises of following things: general principles, food labeling, import and export inspection and certification systems, residues of veterinary drugs in foods, food additives, pesticide residues, contaminants in foods, food hygiene, methods of analysis and sampling, nutrition and foods for special dietary uses. So next one is commodity committee. So it comprises of fish and fishery products, processed fruits and vegetables, fats and oils, fresh fruits and vegetables, sugars, spices and culinary, cereals, pulses and legumes, milk and milk products, natural mineral waters, vegetable protein, meat hygiene, cocoa products and chocolates. Next, ad hoc intergovernmental task forces. animal feeding, food derived from biotechnologies, fruit juices, antimicrobial resistance, processing and handling of quick frozen foods. So next, the FAO or WHO Regional Coordinating Committee. So the Regional Coordinating Committees is situated in Africa, Kenya, Asia, India, Europe, Netherlands, Latin America and Caribbean, Chile, North America and Southwest Pacific, Vanuatu, Near East, Iran. So here in this, we're going to see about the a brief note of Executive Committee and FAO or WHO Regional Coordinating Committee. So first, let's we see about the Executive Committee. So the Executive Committee comprises the chairman, three vice chairmen, six regional coordinators, and seven elected representatives from the various geographical groups of codex. So their main duty to make proposal to the commission regarding general orientation, strategic planning, programming of the work of the commission, and they assist in the management of commission's program of standard development by conducting a critical review of the work and monitoring the progress of the standards development. So next, FAO or WHO Regional Coordinating Committee. It comprises of six codex region, each represented by the joint FAO or WHO Regional Coordinating Committee. So this committee is responsible for defining the problems and needs of the region concerning food standard and food control. So by working collectively, regional level countries are able to highlight regulatory issues and problems arising from the food control in order to strengthen food control infrastructure. So next we move on to the topic Codex legal tools. The Codex legal tool comprises of three major ones: Codex standard, codes of practices, guidelines, and recommendation. So Codex standard is a food requirement intended to provide consumer as a wholesome food product free from adulteration, correctly labeled and presented. The Codex standard products can be sold on the international market without compromising health or interest of consumers. So internationally, acceptance is the most important consideration next to safety. So the prescribed format used to develop each standard must include a name, scope, description, essential composition and quality factors, food additives, contaminants, hygiene, weights and measures, labeling and method of analyzing and sampling. So next tool is codes of practices. Codes of practices is nothing but it's an advisory text issued to all the members. So it is designed to assist members in the achieving purpose of codex. It is an individual member decide how to use the code. Typically described hygiene requirement is adequate or acceptable. So consider checklist of requirement for enforcement authorities. So next tool is guidelines and recommendation. So this is a basic tool used to help member nation in the elaboration of their standard to conform to codex. So it is not binding but accepted worldwide, and it is very useful for developing countries. So for example, code of ethics for international trade in food. So this commission can make guidelines quasi binding. Thank you all. I hope you all get some knowledge about Codex Alimentarius.